So it all began when SQC signed to Kick. So for those of you who don't know, Kick is the new streaming service on the block, spearheaded by Trainwreck TV. Primarily, he said, because he was unhappy with how Twitch was treating its content creators. Partially also because he was a strong proponent of gambling streams, and Twitch kind of heavily clamped down on it. So Trainwreck forms Kick, and then the first guy he signs is another notable streamer by the name of Aiden Ross. Now, we'll get to xQc in a minute, but Aiden Ross is unequivocally a troublemaker. He's quite openly anti-LGBT. Name a form of bigotry. He's probably had some controversial statement. Streamed porn live to his audience. So he was kind of like the first major signee to Kick, which raised a lot of alarm bells in people's minds that like, why are they going after someone like him? Why is he the flagship first signing that they make? So people felt like Kick would be an unwelcoming place to people of minority backgrounds. The other subtext of that, again, is that Kick is owned by a website called Stakes. Now, Stakes is a gambling website. All the stuff that makes a crap ton of money and is super shady, they're involved in it. Crypto, gambling. For a while, Kick was on the fringes because none of the really big streamers were streaming on Kick. It all really kicked off, no pun intended, when xQc, as you may have seen, for 100 million signed a deal with Kick, which ensures that he will stream for some amount of time on Kick. Now, xQc is another person who frequently indulges in gambling streams. People are like, how are Kick going to afford this kind of outlay? Like, how are they going to afford having 100 million contract given out to someone? Well, the answer is that gambling. Gambling is very, very profitable. And this is essentially glorified advertisement, right? As I'm talking about it, gaming publications, the gaming sphere has been talking about it. So it has proved to be great advertisement. Now, in light of this, people have been discussing the validity, the ethics of Kick. Because even Twitch is not profitable, and Twitch is many times more sizable than Kick. And the notable USP, the unique selling point of Kick to streamers, is that it offers a 95% revenue split. So 95 to the streamer, 5 to Kick. For context, Twitch offers 50-50, 60-40, and in rare circumstances, 70-30, which again raises the questions. They're giving that kind of split. They have a much smaller audience as stands. How are they funding a 100 million deal for xQc? Even accounting for it's a business, we're going to invest in the business of the startup. The answer is the real moneymaker for Kick is the gambling, is the funneling to their casinos. In light of all of that, there's been a lot of ethical discussion around should people be streaming on Twitch? Should these big streamers be going to Twitch? And it all kind of kicked off when Pokimane on her stream was asked, would you go to Kick? And she said, why would I compromise my morals and ethics for more money when I have money? And this, people interpret this in many ways. Some people were like, she's just being salty towards xQc. xQc himself felt upset that somehow she was trying to flaunt her morals at him and like get a one-up on him. Many online commentators went at Pokimane for basically what they allege to be hypocrisy. So the hypocrisy comes in where something that Moist Critical has said, so Moist Critical, another famous streamer, in response to this account, quite a popular Twitter account, I think they're involved with like Hassan, and they said, sorry, but if you need to explain how Kick is funneling viewers into gambling on Stake, when the site was created by Stake and the top sponsor gambling streamers after Twitch banned slots, you're a moron, or you get it and you're being paid enough to pretend you don't. So people have said in response, as Moist Critical, I'm going to like just paraphrase basically, that Amazon is also unethical. Why are we drawing the line at Kick? Backed by gambling equals very bad. Backed by exploitative and aggressively marketed / incentivized corporation, also bad. Now, this is one of those things which sounds intellectual, but is actually not. It kind of reminds me of that meme. One guy's like, we should try and improve society somewhat. And the other guy's like, and yet you still participate in society. How interesting. I am very clever. People talk about, and already it's been, the bingo card has been hit in chat. The common phrase is there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. But what that actually means is that it is impossible to make consumerist choices without contributing to some sort of unethical practice, right? That's the truth, because that's the world we live in. Giant corporations own all kinds of things. And so whatever you buy, whether that's like a loaf of bread or an iPhone, everything is corrupted because somewhere down the line, either directly or indirectly, it is owned by some giant evil corporation that's doing giant evil thing, which is essentially to say that there's no alternative, or there's no feasible alternative. You want to go from the UK to Australia, your only realistic possibility is an airplane ride, right? Like you could take a boat, but that's going to take so much longer that your only realistic option is to take a flight, which contributes to climate change and global warming, and it's bad for the environment, but you need to do it. And if one of those airlines is being unethical, you don't necessarily have the choice and the freedom to boycott them. right? Because maybe there's only one flight going, or the one flight that you hate is exponentially cheaper than the other one that you can't afford to take. That's what it means when we say that there's no ethical consumption or capitalism, where it's like sometimes you just don't have a realistic choice for an ethical alternative. You have to funnel yourself into the system. And actually Twitch is a perfect example of that, because if you're a content creator, you have like a few choices of how you want to be a content creator. Let's put Kick aside for a second. You have like Twitch and YouTube realistically. Twitch is owned by Amazon, giant evil corporation. YouTube is owned by Google, giant evil corporation. Facebook gaming, Mark Zuckerberg, giant evil corporation. So you don't have an alternative. You don't have an ethical choice. If you wanted to be a content creator, you have to participate in an unethical economy, right? You have to somewhere down the line participate and make money for a company that does evil shit. The problem is there are still degrees of unethical behavior within that spectrum. Just because everything eventually could be traced to something unethical does not mean that everything is equally unethical. This is the key of this discussion. Yes, we cannot consume things ethically, but that doesn't mean that everything consumed is equally unethical. The difference between Kick and Twitch, firstly, Twitch is just a subsidiary of Amazon, right? Like, yes, you're funneling people into Amazon Prime. Amazon in of itself is not intentionally exploitative. We might refer to it as incidentally exploitative in the way that any giant evil corporation is, right? In the sense that you don't make a billion-dollar corporation without exploiting people. Like any company that's made that kind of money is exploiting its laborers, is forcing them to do like ungodly hours, underpaying them, scamming people left, right, center, right? So Amazon is like incidentally unethical. Like what it's trying to do as a service is not unethical. It's like, oh, we're going to deliver you some goods. That's fine. Like it started off as a book delivering company, right? And as a consequence, Twitch is just affiliated to Amazon as the company, but Twitch's primary goal is simply to be a streaming platform. Like that is Twitch's out and out goal. We want to make money by being a streaming platform. Whatever unethical consequences come are incidental. They are not built into the system. The difference with Kick is built unethically. It is built into the system that Kick is essentially a giant front to funnel you into gambling. Now, we might again argue like on the ethics of gambling itself, but I'm pretty sure most of us can agree that it's like a potentially dangerous enterprise, one that should be heavily regulated, and one that certainly shouldn't be promoted so strongly to young and impressionable people. It's hilarious because only recently we had the whole leave children alone argument with like the LGBTQ thing, and yet so many people seem to be fine with children being promoted to gambling and crypto. So I think where Moist Critical is missing the point is that yes, Amazon is unethical, but it's not built to be unethical. Kick is built to be unethical. It is built to be a website to funnel its viewers, and that's everything about it. Again, the 95-5 split, the 100 million deal for xQc, everything about it is simply we can just throw money away at the actual what it's supposed to be in order to get people to what our real business is. This is essentially what money laundering is, right? This is what like you'll see in like a crime fiction show where there's like a nightclub, but the nightclub is a front for a crime like drug dealing organization. The nightclub doesn't have to be profitable. It just makes it look like the drug dealing isn't going on. That's what Kick is essentially a version of. It's like, yeah, we're a streaming platform. Not really. We're just a giant advertisement board, right, for our gambling. And we're specifically courting all the gambling streamers to come gamble on our website. So people will gamble on our service and we make money. And again, the ethics of gambling aside, you might once more draw a parallel and say, well, Twitch is trying to extract your money. Kick is trying to extract your money. What's the difference? Well, again, in the sense of Twitch, it's supposed to be a mutually beneficial service, right? And again, people like to draw the facetious argument. They'll be like, well, this is the same as games. Are games not in sometimes gambling? Like, you know, games have loot boxes, games have RNG. Are they not employing the same set of principles that Kick and Stake are employing? No. Firstly, games are an art form, right? And I think if anyone tries to come and say that the aesthetic of a slot machine is some sort of an art form, then they're just not arguing good faith. Like games, storytelling, they're an art form. Yes, if you want to have a discussion about how microtransactions have like seeped into modern gaming to make them kind of scummy, I'm 100% there with you. Yeah, microtransactions have kind of fucked up the gaming industry quite severely. But gaming in of itself remains an art. It is a necessary human enterprise. Like we need culture. And I don't even think I need to explain that point. Like human beings need culture. And so games are that way. And then Twitch is simply trying to provide a mutually beneficial service. You give us some subscriptions. We give it to the content creators. They give you this sort of entertainment. Everybody's happy. The difference with the casino is you don't win, right? That's the key difference, especially the kind of gambling that's going on. If it was like a poker game, somebody wins, right? Like 10 people agree to get onto a table. They agree like, okay, we're all going to bet this much. The casino takes a cut and someone wins along, like one of the actual players wins along the line. With like a slot machine, you don't win. Like the house always wins is the classic phrase, right? It's just RNG where they control the percentage to guarantee that they will always make way more money than you put in. So it's like, it's a money sink. And to put that into the hands of like young viewers is potentially dangerous. Now, as to the ethics, because some people have said, you know, again, anybody who's streaming on Kick is an asshole, fuck them, and like, you know, what they're doing. I don't blame someone who is a content creator looking to make ends meet who goes over to Kick, because if you're someone who's like, man, I'm really struggling, and the 95-5 split would be literally life-changing for me if I was able to bring my community over to Kick, you know, basically produce the same content but make way more money on Kick, and that would make my life easier and more comfortable. Like, I don't blame anybody who wants to do that, because we all at some point compromise our ethics, right? And this goes back to the ethical consumption point. We do all compromise our ethics to some degree or the other to live our lives. Otherwise we'd be incapable. Otherwise we'd be a monk, you know, on the hills of the Himalayas. But I do think we should raise questions and hold accountability to these like absolute millionaire streamers like xQc who don't need this money. No one can tell someone else when is enough money, but surely xQc has reached that point, right? Like, I can't sit and draw a specific finite line for how much money xQc should make, but surely he has made more than enough to not justify out of the way unethical behavior. And that's where I think he should deserve criticism. And that's where I agree with Pokimaine's take. She already makes a shit ton of money. She does not need a $100 million deal to promote something that is inherently unethical, right? This requires that xQc agree that gambling is unethical. If he doesn't, he's uninformed and he's also doing himself a disservice. Like, however you spin it, it's not good for him. If you're telling me that he is, as a grown-ass man, unaware, firstly, the website that he's signing for, the company that he's agreeing a $100 million deal for, if he does not even do the basic amount of research as to what that website is, he's an idiot. And if he doesn't understand that what he's promoting is unethical, then he's oblivious and ignorant. And all those things are bad. The most kind interpretation would be xQc doesn't know better. He has by far and away the means to know better, and many people have told him. And yeah, chat pointing out that he's an addiction to gambling. Like, and if he knows its own dangers, he's now doing a disservice to his own viewers to promote this to them. Right? To basically pull them into the scam himself or pull them into the vicious cycle himself. It's like someone being like, I'm a heroin addict, come like take heroin with me. I don't think gambling is ethical. I love playing poker, it's fun. There's a huge difference between poker, which is again, somebody wins, a human player wins, versus slots, where you're just going to lose your money. Like the company will win, you will just drain your money. Whatever they pay out is a small fraction or whatever money you're giving. And again, you may argue that like I'm fine with it, but it would be the same as basically promoting cigarettes to your audience, right? It's like you may make the personal decision to say that I like to smoke even if it kills me. That doesn't make it any less unethical to be like, guys, come smoke with me. And that's why governments regulate it. And honestly, if ethics were the primary motivator behind lawmaking, all of this would be either more heavily regulated or banned. Like certain types of like slots would just not exist because they're just straight up a scam. Like it's just a scam. I don't know how anyone could argue that it's anything else. Where you push an RNG lever, the slot machine decides that 1 in 50 times is going to give you a payout that is 1 in 40 times what it made, right? Like 40 times what you put in. So always the slot machine is making way more money than you put in. The real question that should be asked, when is enough money? Like, I'm not so concerned with your 20, 30 viewer or even 100 viewer Andy streamer going over to Kick because it will make their life comfortable, because that is what it means to be like unethical consumption under capitalism, right? Yeah, you need to do some bad shit sometimes to live. Like, that's just life. But xQc doesn't need to do this. xQc has more than enough money to not have to take a $100 million deal to go stream somewhere deliberately unethical. Now, that's bullshit. No such thing. The more you earn, the more you spend. That's nonsense, dude. There isn't like a fair proportionality of like the more money you make, the more money you spend, because spending money to feed yourself on food and bread is not the same as buying a yacht. Those are not the same thing, and anyone trying to draw equivalence to the two is either deliberately lying or clueless. Like, pick your poison. You do not need $100 million. I'm not saying you can't have $100 million, but money to feed yourself is not the same as money to buy a like 10-story mansion. Like those are saying that like, oh, he made more money, so he spent more money, so he needs more money is not, it's just not a good logic. It falls apart. The truth is we should, like, I agree with Pokimane. Pokimane is right. When someone inevitably says, can we behave a little bit more ethically, guys? Inevitably, someone will come along and say, well, we're all participating in an unethical system, therefore you're a hypocrite. But Pokimane is 100% right when she says, I don't need to do this. I don't need to sell a scam to my audience to make an arbitrary more 100 million when I'm already making millions. And xQc does deserve criticism for signing onto a platform that is essentially a glorified scam to make 100 million. Like, good for him, man. Like, he's gonna make a shit ton of money. But that does not preclude you from getting criticism. Again, to summarize, I don't begrudge any, like, small level streamer who does this because they need to make ends meet. Because, again, that's what it's like to live in the real world. You need to make ends meet, and the 95-5 split, if you need to feed yourself, it's okay to compromise your ethics a little bit. It's okay to be like, I gotta promote this. Well, not even promote, right? Because especially for you, you can afford to be a lot more relaxed. If you're not actively signed to Kick, you can stream to your audience and say, guys, please don't gamble. Or if you do, make sure you're very aware of what you're doing, because the slot machines are a giant scam. So if you go see an ad for steak while I'm streaming on Kick, just be mindful that it is a scam. You can do that, and you can stream on Kick, yoink their money. You know, they're taking a 5% cut, probably completely unprofitable for them when they're hosting your stream. Take it and run. Like, make your ends meet, man. I'm not ever gonna begrudge someone that. But you definitely should be under scrutiny for taking a 100 million deal to be their lapdog, basically, right? To be their puppet and basically come on and be like, come guys, come play on Kick, come play on Stake. When you don't need that money, no one can justify needing $100 million. Like, you can never come to someone and say, oh, I had to do it because I needed the $100 million. Like, no, you didn't, my guy.